Hey everybody, welcome to the webinar. This is Ky Logue, and today I'm going to show you how I made over 60 grand in my first 60 days in real estate, just one deal using other people's money. Now, don't forget at the end of the webinar, I'm going to give you a secret link where you can download the exact transcript and breakdown of the webinar. So stick around because you have to be watching live to get it. Now, if you guys could do me a favor, if you close out Facebook, turn off your cell phone, anything else that's going to steal your attention. Focus is a superpower, and I really want to make sure you guys get the most out of this. And distractions, if you have distractions, it's really hard to, retain and actually use what you're going to learn here. So if you don't know me, again, my name's Ky Logue. I'm not a real estate guru. It's done thousands of deals. I've only been doing real estate for a little over a year, but I've been doing this entrepreneur thing for about 7 years or so. Now, I've had a few different businesses over that time. I've had a lot of ups and a lot of downs. Some of the businesses did well. I was able to sell some of them. Others I failed, but I learned a lot of great lessons over that time. Now, as far back as I can remember, I've always wanted to be successful in life. Now, I've always wanted to get in real estate too, but I used to think that you need a ton of money, lots of connections, and basically be born with a silver spoon to be successful. Now, growing up, I didn't have any of those things. Honestly, I didn't even know anyone, especially my family, that owned real estate, never mind invested into it. Now, one day I was sitting there watching YouTube, and I discovered this thing called wholesaling. And I realized that you don't need any of those things. You could just focus on getting deals and selling them to other investors. And all you had to do was just the marketing and the sales. And that, it was like a light bulb went off in my head. It clicked because that's all I've done since I was 18 years old. Now, I dove right into it. As soon as I found out about that, I dove into it. I took massive action. Within my first month, I finally got a deal under contract, and I found the buyer. I was ecstatic. Now, the day before, I went to wholesale my first property. I gave the title company a call to make sure everything was good to go. And apparently it wasn't, because they told me the seller had to pay, a lot of money to be able to sell his house. He said he owed a lot of back taxes. So they didn't call him for some reason. It was up to me, even though I should have been out of the transaction, I was a wholesaler. But I had to make that awkward call to the seller and, tell him that he had to pay money to actually sell his house. But it turns out he didn't have the money. He couldn't come up with it on such short notice. So I had to basically give up pretty much all of my wholesale fee. I think I made, a little over $1,000 on that deal. And, after a whole month of work, and, it was just frustrating, and I thought to myself, hey, there has to be a better way. So the next deal I found, I ran the numbers on it, and I knew that it was a deal, and it barely needed any work. And if I wholesaled, I could make at least 10K, but I thought to myself, somehow, if I could somehow flip this, I could get way more than that. And I immediately thought, no, I can't do this now. I don't have the experience. I don't have the money, or, I don't even know anyone that'd be able to help me make this happen. I told myself, I can't do it this one. I'll do it in the future. Save this money we're going to make here, keep saving. And eventually one day, I'll be able to flip myself and, take down these bigger deals and, make more than you make wholesaling. So after a couple of days, I realized those are just the same limiting beliefs. And I thought to myself, well, what if I could make this happen? And I decided to go all in, and I told the buyer I lined up, that, hey, I'm going to keep this deal for myself. And, he told me I was crazy. I should definitely sell to him. And he's probably right, but it forced me to get creative and figure out a way to make it happen. Now, I did end up finding a solution to that problem. I thought was holding me back. And I used that, I ended up, again, I made over 60K on the deal in profit, which was way better than that 1K I made. And, definitely still a lot better than the 10K I would have made wholesaling it. But it felt great. I was ecstatic. It was, the most I ever made at one time. And, I was on cloud nine. Eventually when I came back down, I started to ask myself, hey, why isn't everyone doing this strategy? Why haven't I heard about this before? I watch YouTube videos. I, follow these people online. Why isn't anyone talking about this? And, it's not like I'm some real estate genius. This is my second deal ever, it's still just 60 days into doing it, from closing it, and starting. The first one, again, that was a flop. So, but what I came to realize was, when I was at a conference, I wasn't the only person doing this strategy, but the people that are doing it, they're being secretive and they're not sharing it with people. So I decided to say, fuck that. And I want to share what I learned with people so they can do it too. And that's exactly what I'm going to cover in the rest of this seminar. Now, the strategy I use, I decided to call it the no fix flip, which is the best way to maximize the profit you can make off each deal. And I'm going to go over the 2 secrets, that make the no fix flip work. And it's really all it comes down to. Now, the first one is that, with this process, again, you can make 6 times more than you would wholesaling the deal without having, to waste months or, even needing to know how to rehab. So it's basically the same as, doing a fix and flip, but without doing the fix, just flipping it. So when I first started learning wholesaling, one of the things I learned to do was the math. So I had to sit down and, to do that so that the fix and flip person, they can make enough money to be happy with the deal. Now, I soon realized that they're the ones making the most money on the deal. But the reason that is because it takes them months to make the deal happen. They have to come up with their own money and you have to pay people. And it's just a whole process for them to go from buying it, fixing it, and flipping it. But my goal obviously was to make as much money as I could. But I never want to be the person stuck with the property. One, I don't know how to do rehabs. I'm the least handy person I know. And on top of that, I just didn't want to be stuck with the property and just holding it down and just slowing myself down. So obviously when I started a business, I wanted to be able to make, I asked myself, how can I make the most? If I'm going to wholesale it, who pays the most amount of money for properties? So I'm digging around. I started doing research, and I realized that it's these giant hedge fund companies who pay more for properties, and they can close quickly. Now, I thought to myself, if I can build a relationship with these hedge fund companies and wholesale properties to them, I'll be made. I'll be rich. It's game over. So I made a list. I sat down. I made a list of the top hedge fund companies buying in my market. And I started to cold call them, message them on LinkedIn, email them. I didn't get any response really. But I finally came across a company called Open Door. And I did some research. I didn't know who they were, but I found out they're paying way more than all the other houses. And there's iBuyer company, which I didn't know what it was at first, but I gave him a call. I found a contact there. And I started to ask the guy questions, and I said, hey, is there a way can I wholesale properties? I'm a wholesaler. I can get properties under contract, and I like to sell them directly to you. But the guy said, you can't wholesale them. You can only, they only buy directly from the homeowners. But they do buy them as is, as long as it fits their criteria. So I got off the phone. I was a little annoyed I couldn't wholesale it. But I thought to myself, what if I was the homeowner? I could sell it to them that way. And I wouldn't have to waste any time because they said they buy it as is, and I wouldn't have to learn how to do rehabs or anything like that. So again, I thought if only I had enough money, if I could buy houses and then sell it to companies like Open Door. But that brings me to the second secret. Second secret, is I didn't have to use my own money. I can use other people's money. So one of the biggest limiting beliefs I had to overcome was that I couldn't do the flip myself. I didn't have enough money to close the deal because I didn't have anyone to partner with. And I decided, to think of, who do I know in real estate? Is there anyone I can call? Maybe they know somebody, or at least give me some tips on finding a partner. So I called an old friend I hadn't talked to in years. He was a realtor up in New Hampshire. Scott, and I called Scott up and, I asked him, I said, hey man, do you have any tips on finding a potential partner? Because I knew he'd done a fix and flip or two in the past. He said, hey, he might be interested in the deal. So I sent it over to him, we ended up partnering. We made a partnership. We formed an LLC. He actually came up with the money. He used all the money we needed to close on the deal. And we also got a loan as well. We got a hard money loan, but he funded the rest of it. He used the private money to make the deal happen. Then we sold it to Open Door. It was really that easy. It was fast, painless. We didn't have to do any rehabs. I did pay a couple $100. I had somebody come up and clean out the house, and I also had them mow the lawn. We split it 50-50, and it was great, man.